Hello, welcome back. Today is November 8th, and we're doing business and social stories for your mid part of the week.
And because it's November, that means that last week we had the Apple event, the scary Halloween Apple event, and they made some announcements.
The Apple quote-unquote scary fast Mac launch event, the 4 biggest announcements.
Was there any hype for this online? Like, I didn't see anything about
Oh
this
yeah,
anywhere.
no, there's a lot of people drinking the Apple Kool-Aid.
M3, this here iMac, this here MacBook, and this thing. Crappy MacBook.
MacBook Pro. So they said the M3 is faster than the M1 and the M2. First benchmarks results surfaced for the M3 chip in new Macs, and it's, according to this, the multi-chip, it's 11,000, which is 20% over the M2. A lot of it's Apple's press stuff is just weird, though.
Normally, like, I see stuff pop up on Twitter or somewhere like that. Like, people get excited for the event. I heard nothing.
Well, 20% faster, but that's, you're probably only going to get the best experience if you get the most expensive M3 chip. The lower level M3 chips maybe not getting as much attention.
The M3 Pro chip has 25% less memory bandwidth than the M1 M2 Pro. That's not fabulous.
They say it doesn't matter because it's so fast, but one would think that if it's so fast and you gave it more memory bandwidth, maybe it could be even faster. And we have learned that Apple is finally maybe taking a stand against their Chinese overlords and not doing exactly what they want. And now they've got a new BFF.
iPhone 17 to be assembled in India as Apple aims to further diversify its supply chain. Because Apple knows about the coming conflict. It's like at this point, even if it's just all political rhetoric, enough people are going to believe it's true that it becomes an inevitability, which is annoying and stupid.
I was thinking more just like the labor's cheaper,
Well,
which is also probably true.
I don't know if it's cheaper. It probably is a somewhat cheaper, but it's interesting because they kind of insulted the Indian people between the lines here, because they're like, yeah, we're going to make the simple phones in India, not the complicated higher end ones. These are easy to build. The Indians can do this.
Oh.
That's disappointing.
I mean,
And
they
yet
haven't
also
had,
unsurprising.
they don't have as much practice. They've not been doing it for
Although,
decades.
we're on the receiving end of that sometimes. It's like, oh, the hillbillies can manufacture that. We can move that to rural America because they can
They
manufacture.
can handle that.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, listen, have you been on the road here lately? Some of that's true.
I got stuck behind a pig farmer on the way in today.
I'm not judging them for hauling pigs. I'm judging them for being incapable of following traffic laws or understanding what's going on. I guess that's universal, though. Not just us hillbillies. And probably, you know what is not as represented here in the Bluegrass as it is in a more metropolitan area? BMW cars.
Apple says that BMW's wireless chargers really are messing with iPhone 15s. There is an update is coming to keep BMW and Toyota Supra wireless chargers from disabling iPhone 15 NFC chips.
Guess that means that BMW and Toyota uses the same wireless chargers, huh?
Interesting.
That is such like, I would be furious if I was the person that work on that because it's such like a niche edge case. Like, how do you even test for that before you launch it?
You have a bunch of those cars. Someone at Apple drives a BMW with a wireless charger. You can't tell me that's not true.
I don't think the wireless. So in the beginning, one of the reasons that Apple cited for not including NFC was wireless charging, or maybe it was the other way around. Not including wireless charging was NFC interference. And this is literally that the NFC chip is fried because the wireless charging field is too strong. That seems like an Apple engineering problem.
Well, it started out as an Apple engineering problem. Now it's a BMW owner problem. Deal with it.
I can't imagine going to the Genius Bar is like, no, we can't fix this problem because this shows that you charged your phone once in a BMW.
Sucks to suck. See you later.
You put your keys down on the table while you're waiting, and they're like, just get out. Your kind isn't welcome here. Well, Intel, you know, they've been trying to turn things around. They did the big thing where they decided they were going to be the world's foundry. They weren't just going to make their own stuff, but now everyone is welcome, which is kind of what I think led to this, because they don't want to discourage any of these people from doing business with them, but at the same time, they don't want you to even think about this as an alternative to them.
The headline is Intel CEO Gelsinger dismisses pretty insignificant ARM PC challenge. So the timing, it's weird. Apple usually doesn't have a lot of fanfare with their stuff, but they had more pre-announcement this time, I think. And that was because Qualcomm announced their new Snapdragon chips. And so this is what this quote is in response to, is Qualcomm saying, look how much faster this is. This is so much faster than x86. This is going to be a great low-power laptop chip. We've heard all this before with the Surface X, though. So until we actually get hands-on with some of these parts, we'll see.
Well, one thing we do know the performance of are the Nvidia AI chips. And oh boy, does the world want them. They are in high demand, and it's going to be tough to get your hands on enough of them to be able to do anything realistic with AI. So Amazon steps in and says, hey, you know what? You can rent.
Amazon AWS service lets customers rent Nvidia GPUs for quick AI projects. This is a different model. This actually is pretty interesting because instead of like EC2, where you rent a server that has a GPU in it and you're charged by the hour, you set up your model and you set up your job, and it estimates how complex the job is going to be and like what the charge will be. But then Amazon's software queues that. And so it's just one huge shared pile of software, but it all runs until the job completes, and then it returns the model to you. So it's a little different.
Good way to test, I suppose, if you got no hardware. Google's, as we talked about yesterday, the Google trial continues to just spit out nugget after nugget of interesting information and things that Google has desperately, desperately tried to keep secret. One of the biggest secrets is how exactly much they pay to make sure everybody runs their Google search instead of any alternative.
Google paid a whopping $26.3 billion in 2021 to be the default search engine everywhere.
That makes me want to vomit.
That's the default
So
in
much
Safari, Firefox, on the Apple operating system, the whole 9 yards. How could a competitor possibly spring up if it's not competing on the merits? You know, just like, oh, they're going to come along and are they going to pay $1 billion to be the default in Firefox? No, okay.
And we have heard from the competitors in that court case saying like, yeah, we tried to get away from them. It's just not possible. They're too powerful. So even as a percent, even with Google's massive income, that was a considerable percentage that they were putting toward that. It shows how important it is to them.
With the way this case is and the way that large language models are going, I'm finding that like for programming questions, things that I would normally turn to Google or Stack Overflow for, it's like the large language models and Copilot are actually doing a reasonable job answering the questions the documentation doesn't.
Yeah, and you don't have to read through 7 wrong answers.
Yeah.
Well, you
or the answer that's just like, why are you using that? You should be using this.
Oh, just download my module. Bro, I don't want your module.
I've also noticed that it seems, could totally be imagining this, but it seems like for programming related questions, Google has resurfaced a lot of content from like 2016, 2017, 2018. And it's like, bro, the world has moved on since 2016.
If you have something that changed a major version,
yes,
it will pull old version. And if you're like, no, I want this version, and Google's just like, I don't know what that means.
you ever click a result and you're like, okay, reading the instructions or whatever, and then you look at it, it's like 6 years ago, and it's like, come on.
And some sites don't put that.
Yeah,
it's like, how do you not date your content? It's not relevant anymore, buddy.
Have you guys ever noticed that YouTube's not always consistent about that? Sometimes it'll put like released like 6 months ago, or it'll put the date.
I think it's a little experiment because it's just like,
it drives me crazy. I can't stand it.
Let's see if the user notices.
I notice. It bothers me.
We've replaced your your regular ground coffee with Folgers coffee crystals. You lied to me.
Well, for some stuff, like for gardening related things, I need to know when someone's putting something in the ground, and it's like 5 months ago, and it's like, I don't. Give me a date so I can know roughly when this was posted.
Well, Intel might not be worried about that insignificant ARM competition, but what about this?
Google plans RISC-V Android tools in 2024 and wants developers to be ready. RISC-V is not ready, and they just laid off a bunch of people or moved them to India, depending on who you ask.
That was sci-fi. That was one iteration of it.
Is moving them to India, is that like sending the dog to a farm?
Yeah.
It's going to live with grandpa.
Yeah.
So this is just Android. Android will be able to run on RISC-V. More than Debian. Yay.
More cheap phones, I guess. We could use that. And it's often interesting to see how Apple is probably the king of this, right? They just have stuff and they figure out in software ways to repurpose it to spy on your bodily functions. You know, we're going to monitor your heart rate and your blood
Google
pressure.
in this case.
No, but I'm saying Apple is the one that has done it
Oh, historically.
previously up until now. But yes, now Google has entered the fray. Here's a terrifying reality when like you can't turn off this telemetry and your insurance gets it.
Google can turn ANC earbuds into a heart rate monitor with no extra hardware.
Another reason to hate earbuds.
I kind of want a pair of wireless earbuds though, because I'm using the big, heavy wireless headphones right now, and they're too uncomfortable for long periods.
I got a pair of the wireless ones, but they go over your ear. Like they're small, but they go over, so you don't have it in your ear. I don't like it going in my ear.
I get sweaty.
Oh.
I don't like that.
Oh, I'm usually walking outside and it's cold right now, so it's like extra insulation.
Well, you know what? The weather's going to switch back.
No, it's going to be cold forever.
Well, it might not be cold forever, but will we have cheap storage forever? It's good for us, but it seems like it's bad for Western Digital. They're taking some steps.
Western Digital to split flash memory unit and refinance its debt. Yeah, things are really bleak in the mechanical storage industry, and we are never going to be at another point in history. This is kind of like the TLC, like the MLC to TLC era in flash, but for mechanical hard drives. We're going to move into, 40 terabyte mechanical hard drives, but like the 20, like the 16, 20, 22 terabyte hard drives that we have right now that are filled with helium, those are going to be the best drives that we're going to have for a long time, because they're literally losing money on them to sell them to us, and they will adjust the manufacturing, and the quality will be adjusted, and a whole bunch of other things will be adjusted, and I think the drives that are coming are going to be worse than the ones that we have today.
Also, you're refinancing your debt during record high interest rates? How's that work?
Not well.
You were already in such a, like, you were, your line of credit or something that's like market rate finance. They're just like, please stop. Please.
Well, you know who's not going to stop? It's Huawei, because they, against all odds, have created their own phone. And now we know a few details about how they might have gotten away with this.
Controversial chip in Huawei phone produced on an ASML machine. That's weird. They weren't supposed to get one of those. How did they get one of those? That's weird.
They got it.
Who's missing one? Because it's not like there's a lot of those in the world.
We used to have one out in the shed. Let me go check.
That's weird. It's gone. I had no idea.
Now, you know what else is gone? Your friends who come over to play Xbox with you, because you obviously, and a tradition as old as time, you let the visitor use the crappy third-party controller. But not anymore.
Xbox's new policy, say goodbye to unofficial accessories from November, thanks to error 0x82D60002. Because I just said that, this video is gonna show up in searches in the future that have, nothing useful to do with that error. I'm so sorry.
You're welcome, person from the future who's looking for info about this.
Does everybody remember old Xbox where it was USB and you could plug in any USB peripheral and it was fine? I want that Xbox back.
It's never coming back.
Well, Microsoft has introduced a new program to like officially license third-party products. So it seems like this is the final step of that.
Can you imagine if the IBM PC required officially licensed third-party products?
It's called Apple.
Gosh, what a dark timeline we live on.
And Krista, you are a amateur farmer.
Yeah, a farm LARP enthusiast.
Can we even call it a farm? A farmlet.
A farmlet, a tiny farm.
But you do not have any advanced technology on your farm, which is a shame.
Raspberry Pi Smart Vertical Farming takes veggies to new heights.
We literally have all the stuff to do this over there. After the first time I killed a tree, it was like, we should do a video on keeping the tree alive with the Raspberry Pi.
The option of like just over-engineering something just to keep the tree alive.
Well, that's exactly what we're doing here. And they had the exact same idea that we did with the soil moisture sensor and the automatic watering tub. And they did add, this actually is a Raspberry Pi who is commanding individual Arduinos per plant, which seems pricey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably unnecessarily pricey.
The thing I worry about now that I know a little bit more is like with plants, you don't necessarily like water on a schedule. So, well, outdoors you don't, because you want to water when it's dry. But like based on humidity and weather and stuff, your soil might dry out at a different rate. So just constantly watering it just on a schedule is not always the best.
And we've got somewhere, I think it's over there in a box, there's a little stick and it measures conductance and it feeds a constant integer back to
to tell it whether to water.
Well, it just tells you the concentration of water in the dirt.
We also 3D printed a peristaltic pump so we could make a mixture that had nutrients and stuff in it and it wouldn't clog up the pump.
But this is not a product that they're going to sell you. This is on the hacker, whatever. So you can actually just go and check it out yourself. Build your own if you feel like it. Hackster. Go to Hackster. And the Dino Babies. It is perhaps the twilight of the Dino Babies.
Now, technically, Dino Babies was IBM, and this is HP.
This is the same thing. Why are we going to repurpose the name? And yeah, this is HP. And so they've been in their own Dino Baby drama. It looks like it's going to wrap up in a somewhat disappointing way.
It took 7 years, but over 40s fired by HP have won an $18 million settlement. That sounds like a lot, but it's going to be a minimum of $15,000 per plaintiff after lawyer's fees. So HP really, even with the lawyer's fees, they really didn't miss out a lot here on what they would have had to pay for severance and everything else. It's about the same, maybe slightly worse, but not dramatically so.
The thing I'm struck by is like over 40. I mean, maybe it's because I'm rapidly approaching 40, but I'm like, that doesn't seem like that old.
According to the Chinese propaganda videos, if you're over 30, you cannot get a job because there's so much competition. And they're like, no, we don't need you. We got these cheap young folks. Now that 15 grand per plaintiff would have been even less if a lot of these Dino Babies hadn't died during litigation. It's been going on for a very long time. And it seems that the strategy of negotiation from HP is we can keep this going until you all die. So you can take your 15 grand or you can just keep going. We'll go on forever.
That's very sad.
So it's a problem with our court system, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Also, we've locked your printers.
You can never subscribe and save with HP ink again.
They're going to pay them that 15 grand with 1 liter of printer ink. That's it. And the Large Hadron Collider, is it responsible for the Mandela effect? That's a fun rabbit hole I just went down recently. We don't know, but this could be, if it is, then this could be terrifying because we could all be just bouncing in and around all the different multiverse with them implanted inside of us.
World's smallest particle accelerator is 54 million times smaller than the Large Hadron Collider, and it works. Coming soon to a cell phone near you, a particle accelerator.
More importantly, because these things generate radiation, they are saying this might actually be either on the end of an endoscope or implanted in your body for radiation therapy. Because it's very accurate compared to our current radiation therapies.
Or just blast it and hope that you kill the cancer before.
Yeah.
Or the cancer could be transported into a different multiverse version of you.
Maybe,
well, screw her.
Maybe that's what cancer is in the first place. It's from another.
Or just cancer plagues a society until you get to the point where you can teleport it to the next.
Yeah, the cancer slowly makes its way out of the central finite curve.
If you're a medical student, explain that theory to one of your professors. And please record it so I can see.
Do your thesis on it, obviously. And we have had some earnings calls from all the big major automotive manufacturing, and they all seem to be saying the same thing, which has to do with the consumer just maybe not having enough money for these guys.
Auto execs are coming clean. EVs are not working. I don't understand. Consumers, why aren't they interested in this? And it's like,
have you tried reducing the price?
Consumers are doing the math.
I mean, I'm anti-EV and everything, but I think the same is also true for those $100,000 F-150.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just...
Who's going to buy that?
It's not realistic.
I am interested in EVs, but I'm like, that's too expensive for me. That's too rich for my blood.
I mean, theoretically, if you could bolt the engine directly to the wheels, which Tesla basically does, and you had a cheap battery, which Tesla does not have, EVs could be the future. But we don't have at least one of the two major things that we need.
Money.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Middle
Money
class.
for goods and services.
And another thing that we've learned from the Google trial is we know that Google wants their search engine to be the default search engine, obviously, because of their ad dollars, but they don't put ads on every search. So how did they decide?
here's a rare look at Google's most lucrative search queries. Thanks to this. iPhone 8, iPhone 8 Plus, auto insurance, car insurance, cheap. These are the scammy things in our life. Like, these are the things that
Hulu, yeah, there were streaming services were on here.
LifeLock?
Why? How
Free
many
credit
people
report?
are searching for a LifeLock that's on the list? That's not a good service, guys.
It has to be something that's like being advertised to seniors.
Yeah.
This is literally the list of things that would be top of, governmental investigation for fraud, because there's profit margins and then there's profit margins. And this is the in the latter category where it's you're ripping people off in order to have that much of a profit margin.
And they actually sort of saw this coming. At least somebody in Google in, pre-2019 was like, all right, guys, there's a conflict of interest here. So what we're going to do is we're going to firewall the ad team and the sales team. And you're not allowed to cross that over ever, because we know what the sales team will do to the ad team. It must not be allowed. And then ad sales started to drop precipitously. So guess what happened?
Google's 2019 Code Yellow blurred the line between search and ads.
Oh, I said sales, I meant search. So yeah,
Unacceptable.
why is search getting worse? Well, it probably can lead back to the sales team getting involved.
You also have to look at the Amazon thing, because like Amazon search, it's a microcosm of what's happening inside Google. I mean, Google's obviously got a lot more inertia than Amazon did with their product search, but what's coming out in the court case, people inside Amazon knew that what they were doing was wrong on a technical level as well as a moral and fundamental level, but they were chasing the dollars, so they did it anyway. Google inevitably will follow the same pattern. It has to.
It doesn't have to, but it will. And Google Registry is giving us a hot new top-level domain. How quick do you think somebody got yeeting?
I've been trying to think of ways to make this worse, but I'm sure there's words I just haven't thought of.
Google Registry launches .ing domains, begg.ing for wordplay.
There has to be something terrible that someone's already come up with in Registry.
Creeping would be a great one.
What's your email address? Bob at creep.ing. Okay,
What about-
Bob at creep.ing.com?
What about bl.ing? That's a hot one.
Hotline bling.
B.ing, Bing. I wonder if they would sell that one to Bing, the Bing team. They wouldn't sell that one just out of spite.
Yeah, they've already bought it and they're charging a huge price for it.
Well, I hate to say it's probably an end of an era, because recently we heard about WinRAR having a terrible security problem. And now this is probably going to be the nail in the coffin. No one is going to deal with that pop-up anymore.
Windows 11 adds native support for RAR, 7-zip tar, and other archive formats thanks to open source library.
This is a liminal space.
It should not have taken this long.
One fun experiment you can do if you're on any recent version of Windows 10 or Windows 11, extract the Cinebench download thing with the built-in Windows zip thing, and then extract it with 7-zip or WinRAR, and let me know the results, because 7-zip or WinRAR should be about 40 billion times faster than Windows Explorer, because Windows Explorer is trash.
Windows in general is pretty trashy. And it's a weird thing
It's got a
where
butterfly tattoo.
It's because they fired all their testers.
it's so cringy when you see somebody with an Apple sticker on their car, or someone who buys into the whole Apple ecosystem. But I'm even more suspicious of someone who buys into the Microsoft ecosystem, because they don't have the cult thing to like lure you in. It's just like, it's like, hey, we've got some bad
It's
software.
literally just a van with free candy
Yeah.
written on the side, and you're like, yeah, I believe that.
It was like, oh, I love your bad software. But Microsoft is so bad at PR and managing their customers, they can't even keep those people happy.
Microsoft calls time on Windows Insider MVP program, according to the Registry. I love their subheading. Unwavering loyalty and devotion have been rewarded by Microsoft with termination.
That sounds like the Chinese Communist Party.
Yeah.
So they're going to roll a new kind of program out or whatever, but it just sounds like it's less good.
Yeah. The Insider program lets you run test versions of Windows where they don't listen to your feedback and make the start menu worse.
But this is not that. This is even beyond that. Like they'll even give you little like desk things and
yeah. Well, you're an MVP. The Microsoft MVP program is thing for like Microsoft consultants and Microsoft certified people and blah, blah, blah. So you can be an Insider MVP, but yeah, they think that, I mean, their dashboard says that line goes up when there's more ads on the start menu and the start menu is more worthless, a la defective Amazon searches. I mean, there's the Amazon court stuff really is very illuminating because that's also happening right now inside Microsoft with the damn start menu. How crazy is this? So frustrating.
we might have to put Windows Start menu on the bingo cards.
We did a video on it and it's never been truer.
So if you are one of those weird Microsoft people who just lives and breathes it and you love everything, it's going to be a tough week for you because not only are you getting kicked out of your MVP status, but you got to pour one out for one of the dead soldiers.
Windows CE reaches end of life, if not end of sales. I've still got your Windows CE handheld that you gave me all those years ago. It is a museum piece at this point.
I was super hyped for that when I got it. I found it to be less practical than I'd hoped, but it was fun to like whip it out because people, you know, they wanted to know about it.
Yeah, it's just like, oh my gosh, it's so amazing. The computers are this small. Blah,
It's
blah,
like,
blah.
like, oh God, you can take notes with that. It's like, yeah, it's super easy. And it's just like, oh, it's not as easy. I did get a head start on thumb typers.
I used mine all through college for all the science classes, doing the spreadsheets and the experiments and stuff just right on a handheld. It was great.
Was it?
Yeah, it really was.
And LinkedIn, man, LinkedIn is probably one of the worst social media sites. I get bombarded by people who's like, oh, add me on LinkedIn because they know my email address. It's like, I don't use LinkedIn. Nobody believes it. It's like, no, I don't want to be a part of this.
LinkedIn hits 1 billion members, adds AI features for job seekers. Yeah, I don't use it either.
I guess if you were in the market for a job, it would be
No.
more useful. But
No, screw that. I'll LARP as an electrician or a plumber or something. It's fine.
I dream of going to live on the farm.
I don't think you have the certifications for that.
Neither do half the electricians working in our area. It doesn't stop them.
Here's the meter, Krista. We're 42 into
Oh,
fear.
I saw that earlier.
Well, DoorDash, I see a lot of social media posts and stuff where people are like, there's a war on whether or not tipping should be compulsory. And if you don't tip, you should be treated like garbage in some people's eyes. I don't know. I mean, sometimes these services really seem to do a terrible job. I did notice that grocery delivery has gone to not asking for the tip up front, which made no sense. Like pre-tipping, you don't even know what kind of service you're going to get. But anyway, DoorDash is not taking that route. They have decided to guilt you as like everybody else does on social media.
DoorDash is testing warnings about bad service if you don't tip your driver. Orders with no tip might take longer to get delivered. Are you sure you want to continue? Let's add a tip.
I like how continue without tip is gray.
Yeah.
Don't press me. I'm the same color as the background.
There should be a thing to add a text box there that's like $20 in cash is waiting on you if you get it here in less than 30 minutes.
But then they can't take their cut. That is the pro move. Although the problem with it is like the DoorDash people can see the tip up front.
Yeah.
So if they couldn't see the tip up front, then it would work when they showed up, slip them a 10 and be like, listen, nobody has to know about this. But you're already going to get the bad service because they're going to, you know,
Prioritize other orders. Yeah.
Yeah. It's adversarial. Like DoorDash is not good for the person door dashing or the person ordering services from DoorDash.
Also, maybe they lost the lawsuit or whatever, but isn't it still true that all of the tip does not go to the delivery person?
There was a lawsuit about that. I don't recall how it ended, but that is in some jurisdictions by law, the tip has to go to the delivery person, and they were not doing that.
I think that's true almost everywhere. Like even here, I think you have to tip your employees. You can't just take it from like a pot.
Well, they were though for a while,
which is illegal.
Yeah.
Speaking of illegal, things that should be illegal.
Yeah, the old mergers and acquisitions. Now we have seen in the streaming world when this happens, prices go up, content disappears, and everything gets worse. So expect that.
Disney to acquire remaining stake in Hulu for expected $8.6 billion.
We read a lot of like crappy stories every week, and so like most of the time, you know, you're just kind of numb to it. This is a story I opened up and I went, "Oh, come on, like, come on."
Well, they already have some stake in it, right? Because they bundle
Yeah.
their stuff together.
Does Always Sunny have their DVD box set yet? I still haven't retranscoded where I flubbed up that one time.
I can start buying DVDs like for all my favorite shows because they're just going to disappear.
Is CNN letting the AI do something here?
Yes.
Because why is this thumbnail?
Yes. Yeah, I've noticed that.
That doesn't match.
There's so many little things like that. Oh, we got a story about the poll. But yeah, a lot of these websites are just falling apart.
And surprising no one, you know, we got the big return to the office war going right now. It seems like the big companies are losing that to some degree. And that's really bad news for these guys.
WeWork plans to file for bankruptcy as early as next week, source says, which is probably this week by the time you're watching this.
Yeah. You may have an update on this that we don't have as we film it.
It's tough when your business model is allocating commercial real estate space when commercial real estate space is basically free at this point. Like, please take it off our hands. Please.
Please create the appearance that we're not a vacant wasteland of human nothingness.
Just run the heat so we don't have to. That's all we need from you. And we've learned that most game companies have taken a very, very adversarial role in terms of people taking their games and improving the experience and extending the life of the product. They can't stand it.
According to Capcom, mods are quote unquote no different than cheating. Now, the full quote, this is taken a little bit out of context. In his own quote, he kind of walks it back a little bit, I think, because he realized what he said. But
Oh, whoops.
yeah. It's like, you can't have officially supported like improvements to the game that modify it, but otherwise it's just cheating. And it's like, that's not true at all. That's something that someone who's never played games would say.
Also, like, I don't understand caring that much for single player games. Like, who cares how they play it?
Well, but they want to do the Bethesda thing, right?
Yeah. They're looking to start a store or...
Also, like the Resident Evil, like those single player games where it's like, I want to tell a story. It's like, okay.
I want you to, it's my story, not your story. How dare you change it?
I want you to suffer by having to do this 800 times. Okay.
5 inventory slots. That's how I imagined it.
My vision.
And HSBC, we have heard them in the past maybe doing some unethical things in the markets, which makes me worry about this because, you know, traditionally this is a market that exposes inflation and government overspending. So how could we possibly control that signal?
HSBC launches platform using blockchain tech to expedite global trading of gold. Don't like it.
Not going to trust that. You know, you can just have them send it to your house. It won't burn.
It's probably a thinly plated gold tungsten. Like you gotta snap it in half and then put it back together.
And Angry Birds. Remember Angry Birds? They're still out there.
What year is it?
They're still angry, and they're still making new versions of it. This one's called Stack. I guess it's like a Tetris style thing. But it turns out that the ad network that is providing the ads for this game is not as maybe the filters aren't as good as they could be.
Angry Birds and Stack children's games are showing ads about some of the things that are unfolding in the Middle East right now. It seems to be Israeli ads, which is showing grotesque, awesome, terrible, bad things.
Well, and apparently they were unapologetic, like everyone should know. And it's like, this is aimed at children.
I kind of agree that, like, when something like that happens, we do all need to know about it. Like, putting your head in the sand is the wrong thing to do. But
a child has no way of understanding that kind of imagery or what it means. And
I suppose that's true.
It's like, I'm going to go play Baldur's Gate, but I've got to watch this thing about Bill Gates releasing mosquitoes that have been genetically modified first.
But you gotta tab in and out, you know.
Just so you know, Bill Gates is doing this thing. It's like, okay.
That would be so tragic for the World Economic Forum if they advertised in video games, because you'd be like, wait a minute, this is the same as the villain in the video game. Are these the bad guys?
I wonder if they were going for that in like, what was it? Far Cry 6. It's like they were making the cancer drugs and like the slave plantation stuff, and it's like, this is hitting. I mean, this is not super far removed. It's like, have you read some of the stuff that we did to get bananas and from South America back in the day?
All I got from that game was that you could have a rooster companion who killed everybody.
Well, in the streaming world, we have seen the trend is to charge you more and give you less. And HBO Max is certainly not going to be left out of that train.
4K streaming has been deleted from ad-free Max Legacy plan. So if you subscribed a long time ago, you could do ad-free. And now they are slowly making it crappier. It's like, I would like to have this in an ad-free experience. Nope. If you're going to stream 4K, you're going to get ads now.
Genuinely bewildered that people still pay for all these services as they do this.
So it's interesting when they marketed this was like hey, this is the forever plan. You get everything and you're going to pay this price and it's a huge value. And then when they raised the prices on everything else, but not this one because they had made that promise, they were like, well, yeah, the price is going to stay the same, but we can't give you the features. Come on. What are you thinking?
I hated how you can buy things and then they change after the fact.
That does suck. And it sucks when you get used to using something and then things happen in the world and they're like, no, you're not allowed to do these things. And then they're like, well, what's the solution here? Oh, let's just make the common people pay for it. That's always the solution.
Facebook and Instagram to offer subscription for no ads in Europe.
Otherwise, you consent to having ads.
Supposedly, YouTube Red has been mildly successful.
Now, this is going to be $9.99 a month or $12.99 on the mobile platforms. Apple and Google still taking their cut. Didn't they lose those cases in the EU?
Yeah.
I can't imagine paying a monthly fee for that.
It seems like a lot.
And Threads, much like Mr. Musk, they probably didn't pay enough attention when they chose their new name for their new program, and it's going to come back and haunt them.
Trademark fight. A British business named Threads has a problem with Meta's Threads.
Kind of a major problem, because
they're both called Threads, and the other Threads has the right to use the Threads trademark in Britain.
And also, Meta deleted their Facebook page.
And not only Meta can't use the excuse that they didn't know about Threads because they tried to buy their domain. Yeah. But if you are Threads, the smart thing to do right now is to identify your major competition, obviously Twitter, and look at what they're doing wrong, restricting the API, and doing it right.
Instagram says that the Threads API access is in the works. Basically, everything that Elon Musk is doing, do the opposite because it's the opposite day. And maybe Threads will be successful. And they're actually making some traction.
And the darkest part of October, the scariest Halloween scare of all.
It's November.
Yeah, but this happened last month. Was the pop-ups that we all saw in our favorite online platform.
YouTube is getting serious about blocking ad blockers.
I read a great technical article about uBlock Origin, and they broke down like how uBlock Origin replaces the ad array before it renders the page, and then YouTube caught onto that, and so then there's like 5 layers of cat and mouse. Right now, I think they're still winning.
They are still winning because I haven't seen the pop-up yet.
You might not be on the...
Oh, on the thing, yeah.
Sometimes I went through several phases. At first I had them. Then my video would just pause. But then if I unpaused it, I didn't get any pop-up. Now it's smooth sailing. So get back on that horse, YouTube team.
Store.level1text.com.
Now, why would they possibly anger all of their customers to that degree? What could have been the motivator to make them have that much bad will?
YouTube is increasing premium prices in multiple countries right after ad blocker crackdown.
Oh, that's right. They saw it worked for Netflix with password sharing, and they said, people will tolerate that?
Apparently.
Get to work. Don't make them right. Except YouTube Premium is actually a great deal when you watch this channel.
Store.level1text.com.
And TikTok, of course, is being blasted at all times from our government. They hate it. And if they can find a new reason to get you to hate it too, they're going to roll it out.
Critics renew calls for a TikTok ban, claiming the platform has an anti-Israel bias. Okay.
I think all the mainstream media that I see have a bias too, but it ain't that one. And probably the saddest part of the TikTok challenge / trend thing is when people get caught or terrible things happen, they act as if they could not have predicted it. Like, I don't understand why my behavior was so bad. I'm just a poor kid.
Teen admits to filming TikTok video of him assaulting people at Wortham Park. "Quote unquote, I didn't mean it."
It's just a prank, bro.
His prank was to walk up behind people and punch them in the back of the head as hard as he could.
That's not great.
But he didn't mean it.
He's going to go away for a long time.
He needs to go away forever.
That was in Texas?
Yeah, Texas. Harris County, Texas.
That's a bold place to be doing that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, you might catch
Texas
a bullet.
is a little strapped.
Unfortunately, if that would have happened, somebody would have gone to prison for murder.
Right.
Which is ridiculous. And the war.
I mean, it is an overreaction, but also like...
I disagree. I disagree. I think it's an underreaction for that. That is just blatantly
just
like,
punching
evil behavior. And we get the information war is running hot. Who do you trust? What can you believe? Basically nothing at this point, but you're going to see it because they're going to put it in everything, including your Angry Birds.
How Telegram became a terrifying weapon in what's unfolding in the place, because that'll probably be flagged. The Middle East. It's like, oh, look, stuff's posted to the internet and no one checks it. So this article seems to be about how no one should be able to post anything to the internet without it being checked.
And Wired, without even covering, like the fact that maybe free speech, they're just like, oh my God, can you believe that they're allowed to show this? And it's like, well, maybe let's step back from that. Can you believe it's happening? I mean, it's not like they're making this up. These are real things that are happening. Maybe we should pay attention to it. And this is a common thing, again, in the new socialist continent of Canada. That's not a continent, is it?
No.
It's a country. But they have changed things incredibly they don't want you to argue or dissent. That is not allowed in Trudeau's Canada. And that even goes down to the school boards.
Lakehead School Board files court order demanding Reddit release user identities. Why? For making fun of the school board.
They didn't give the quote.
So bold, yeah.
I wanted to know exactly what was said. They say it was slanderous and libel, but they didn't say what it was.
Yeah.
I hope it's something like the president is a doo-doo head. And they're like, that's not true. There's no doo-doo on his head.
And Reddit, hopefully, will fight back against that. They've, in the past, come on the right side of that a couple of times. So we can hope that they'll just say, no, because it is bad for their business model. But they also are not happy about all the people who are crawling their site. Now, we've made the jokes before, like when you Google something, the Reddit results are the new Google results.
Yeah, because it's actual people usually talking about stuff.
And it's just, the SEO spam it's the only place you can find information. But Reddit's like, hey, we're not going to keep your business model afloat. We don't need you, Google.
Reddit can survive without search, quote unquote. Company reportedly threatens to block Google.
I would say that's true if the fact that Reddit search doesn't suck so bad.
This turned into Reddit is not going to show content unless you're logged in, which they walk back to say, no, we just want to wall off Google search. We still aren't planning to make it to where you have to log in to see content, but man, we got to find a Reddit alternative immediately.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to have the same problem in 5 years.
I mean,
well, but it's going to have the problem now of all the big tech companies, the mainstream media, just destroying it.
I mean, remember Dig? Dig was bigger than Reddit, and it came down too.
Yeah, but everything's been shitified now.
And Reddit would have come down if not for two important words: Condé Nast. They joined the evil empire, and that's how you maintain your giant tech project. You become evil. I mean, it's the Google thing, right?
So, you know what's been really lovely? So I've kind of been like massively nerding out, and so I've been looking up information about the Forgotten Realms, and a lot of the websites from like the late 90s and early 2000s are somehow still up, and you can find them. So if you want to like Google information about it, it's like, wow, I've just been teleported back to a time when people shared stuff on the internet without ads, and they just do it because they like it.
What's going to bum you out is that a lot of that information from the 2000s about that is going to have been retconned.
Yeah.
So they
it's like 3 versus 5 or whatever.
Yeah,
that's very disappointing.
But the websites are still fun to peruse.
You talked about getting into Forgotten Realms. This is a great engagement challenge because you talked about maybe going with the DoorDash.
Yeah, however you pronounce those words out loud.
As a young man, I started with the Crystal Shard. Engagement challenge. Where would you start in the Forgotten Realms?
Yeah, which
library?
books are the best for a newbie? We'll see you guys.
Engagement challenge.
Bye.